concept is cloud DNS. Okay, so this is very important. DNS, to understand DNS, it's very important because mainly you will play when you deploy your workloads in a new VPC, right? So you'll mainly work with the DNS. Okay, so cloud DNS, it is a DNS service from Google Cloud itself. So it will provide you, high available, high performance, resilient, and global domain naming system to publish your domain names. Okay, so Cloud DNS offers both public zone and private managed zone. Public zone is visible to the public internet, while the private zone is visible to only one or more VPC in your network. Okay, then we will go through what is public and private zone, and then what we will go through what is DNS policy, and then what is DNS peering. Okay, this is very, very important. Then we'll in the demo we'll see how to create public and private zone, how to create DNS policy, and then we'll go through how to create a DNS peering and forward zone. Okay, let me go to my whiteboard. Okay, so when you deploy, let's say this is your VPC. Okay, so you don't have any on-prem infrastructure. Okay, so you're purely new to the cloud and you want to deploy everything in the cloud itself. Okay, you don't want anything like you don't have any on-prem things because you are a new company and you want to build everything in the cloud. So you will create a VPC, right? So in the VPC you will have a network S1 subnet S1 S2 10.0.0.0/24 or 110.196.0.0/24 whatsoever. You'll create a VM. Okay, so to talk to the VM, for example, from here to here, to talk to the VM using the name, you should require DNS, right? You can communicate over IP address, but to communicate using host name, you should require DNS. So you don't have any on-prem infra or you don't have anything. So how will work out this DNS scenario? So the one way is you deploy a Windows DNS over here. OK, and then you use something called DNS policy. DNS policy is nothing but you are telling this VPC that this UVPC should use this. Let's say this is 10.196.5.5. This is the DNS server, Windows server you deployed. OK, you have your domain controller, Windows DNS server, everything in the cloud. So you're tagging this DNS policy to the VPC saying that 10.196.5.5 is your DNS server for any name resolution. OK, so whenever you ping from this one to this one, the like machine 1 to machine 2, this will use the DNS server which is hosted here to do the name resolution. So that is doable using something called DNS policy. Those who worked with Azure, you're defining the custom DNS right in your VNet. You remember? So similar same concept here. OK, in Azure you will define custom DNS in the VNet, but here you will define the VPC. In the VPC you will define the DNS policy. OK, so let me show you that. OK, so I have a VM here. I'm going to the other project. OK, because in this project I don't have DNS server, I don't have any DC or nothing. So in this VM you can see here, right? I have two servers. One is cloud connector and one is domain controller. OK, let me log into this domain controller. Before going to the domain controller, I will show you how to create a DNS policy. So you got my point, right? So I have the DNS server in the cloud itself. I want to use that DNS server to do the name resolution. So to do that, you need to create a DNS policy and you need to attach that policy to the VPC. OK, so let's go to the DNS. You need to enable the API. Yeah.
So where you created the DC and what is the other thing you have created? Cloud connector. That is in
Yeah.
different project. That
Yeah, it
is,
is a different project. OK.
and that is a different VPC also,
Yeah,
correct?
it's a completely different VPC.
Okay, got it.
because I could have started from here, but then you guys will get confused. So that is why I created from the scratch from a new project.
Yeah, I understand. So there
So now
nothing BPC connectivity, BPC pairing, anything for that one, or you have done that?
nothing. No, like everything is new. Nothing is done yet. It is
Okay,
completely isolated. Okay. So
sure.
now see guys. Yeah. Now see. Now uh, you have the DNS here. So now let's say okay. Now I'm going back to my other project where I have my domain controller and DNS. Okay. So don't get confused. So now I have the DNS. I wanted to use this DNS server, that is 10.196.1.2, to do the name resolution in this network. Okay. So if I go to DNS, this is my other projects where I have my domain controller. Okay. So I have one default, sorry, I have created a DNS policy here. You can see. So now let's do one thing. Let's delete this policy. Okay. Before deleting that, let me go do one thing. So now I'm going to do a RDP to this. So this is my domain, and I'm logging to that via my domain controller using the admin account. Okay. Now just imagine you just deployed your domain controller. Okay. So you don't have a DNS policy. Okay. So for example, I'm going to the cloud DNS in the old project. I'm deleting the existing one. Okay. So just to do from the scratch. So now there is a DNS here. Policies there. Okay, now there is no DNS policies. So now any VM which I deploy in this project does not have visibility to the domain controller. So I cannot able to take any VMs in the domain also. So let's see that. Okay. So compute engine, I'm going to the compute engine. I will deploy one VM. Test VM. I'll select the Mumbai region, which is similar to my where my domain controller sits. Okay, I'll select the JP one. Network. I'm going to deploy it in the uh, okay, one dot I'm deploying in 1.0 because my domain controller is in 1.0. Okay, so where is my image? Windows Server. Okay, Windows Server Data Center. Okay, I'm creating a new VM. So this VM doesn't have visibility. This VM is deployed in the same network where my domain controller sits. Now I wanted to contact the domain controller to take the VM in domain or for the name resolution. Okay, so for the name resolution, I wanted to use this DNS server 1.0. So how we will do and what is the behavior? Let's see once this VM is up. Okay. Guys, you don't have any confusion, right? Because I just switched to the other project where I have my domain controller.
No, Mama.
Yeah, great. You may have a question why you did not create a VPN, DNS policy in the new project, and why you did not do that. I have the answer for that. Let me talk, let me address it in the other one next, step. Okay. So now I think my VM is up. Let's see whether it is reachable. If it is reachable, we'll see how it works. I already allowed my public IP address in this firewall. OK, so no need to define it again. This is not yet ready, so let's give a couple of seconds. Let's see once again it is. Okay, this is taking time. Yeah, it is up now. So let's do the reset of the password to log into the PC. OK, so let's copy this and quickly we'll log into this. OK, now I have my VM ready, which is not in domain. I have the DNS server. I have the domain controller, but I did not create any DNS policy. So by default, the name resolution doesn't happen. So let's check that. And then we'll create the DNS policy to perform the name resolution. And then we'll take the machine in domain. OK. So for example, I am going to ping to my domain controller. OK. So though it is in a same VLAN, let me CMD. OK, so I'm going to ping to my domain controller first. 1.2. See, I'm able to ping to my domain controller because it is in a same subnet. OK, so now I'm going to do a ns lookup or ping dc.vdibuzz.com. So it is not pinging. Yeah, so it means it doesn't have reachability to the DNS. It is having a reachability to DNS, but it is not doing the resolution because as I told you, we need to bind the DNS server policy. So even if I go here, if I go to the advanced system setting and if I try to take the VM in domain, OK, it will say nothing exists. OK, so now what we are going to do, the magic is we need to bind the we need to create the DNS policy, and then we need to bind the DNS policy to the VPC. OK, so I'm going to the DNS server, sorry, DNS tab, and I'll create a DNS policy. DNS pol. Keep the options as it is. Don't change anything. So here alternative DNS server. So here I need to mention my DNS server, which is going to resolve 192.168.1.2. This is my DNS server. That is my DNS server IP address, and the network is this one. OK, from this network I want for this network I want to utilize this DNS server using this policy. OK, it is simple. For example, this is the VPC. It should use this DNS server to the name resolution. Guys, are you clear, right?
So it's basically like while you are deploying machine and choosing the VPC, you are mentioning that this will be the DNS address for
Exactly.
the network.
Exactly. Yes, you're right. See, simple. In Azure, you are going to the VNet and you are defining the custom DNS, right? So
Exactly.
similarly,
Right.
here you are defining policy and binding that policy to the VPC. For example, if you have one more VPC tomorrow, you can create add network and bind that VPC here. Okay.
So right now the DC one is the DNS server, correct? So that
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
actually I was
DC1 is
calling
that.
here. That's not working. Like when I saw your post earlier, Rich, I was trying to connect that, but that's a mistake I have done. So
So
thanks.
see here,
So
DC1 is my DNS server. That is why I pointed in the policy. You can see. Now I'm going back to my DNS, my VM test VM. If I'm going to the ping, it should ping technically. Okay. If it is not pinging, we need to check why it is not pinging. Here you're saying.
Go to the policy. Yes. Yeah. Here.
yeah.
Yeah. For private forwarding showing as disabled.
Think this is 10. Oh, array. Sorry, this is not required. My bad. I entered the DNS server IP address wrong.
Wrong IP. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is what I'm wondering because this is all simple configuration. It should work seamlessly.
14.92162.
Then 196.1.2. Okay.
That is the
Now it
active
should be
type.
fine.
Yeah, private forwarding, by the way, not required, but now it should be fine. So now if I go here, if I type, see, it's very straightforward.
So that one
Guys,
the
clear?
wrong. Yeah, that IP which one you are giving, that is the wrong IP of the DNS, correct?
That is wrong IP. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
not a DNS IP. By mistake, I gave the wrong IP. So now you can take in domain. Okay, this is using the DNS policy, and this is in the same VPC.